All right, we're live. I'm going to share it a few places.
Okay.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, we're going to get started in just a few minutes. We're giving it a few shares, and I encourage you to do the same and let people know you're watching with us. All right, it looks like we've got a few watchers with us. Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kim Baker with the Gallatin Chamber, and we are back today with another episode of the C Show. For those of you who don't know, the Chamber exists to support, educate, and engage our member businesses and the Gallatin community. And we're so glad to have you with us. And we're so glad to have a special guest with us, a good friend of ours, James Fenton with the Gallatin Economic Development Agency. Thanks for joining us, James.
Good morning. My pleasure.
I feel certain we've been living semi-parallel lives over the past few weeks. I'm kind of serving in crisis response mode for our businesses here in the Gallatin area. And we're happy to have you here with us today to share a little bit about what that's looked like, what that looks for our industries, and what you're seeing as businesses that are really pivoting and being successful during this time, and what the days ahead look like. So with that, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you. Less than a month ago, we were at 3% unemployment, and our biggest concern here in Gallatin really was attracting a workforce. And navigating this turn of events has really brought into focus how important preparedness and planning is for any organization or a company. And I want to show you real quickly what I've shared with my staff that has helped us in this time. I'm sure many of you have seen this before, but Kim, if you put that up. With everything going on and so many things that we think that we can do and things that we should be doing, it was really important for us as an office just to take this really to heart and make sure that we're focusing on those things that we can control. As you know, my office, our office is tasked with attracting new companies to the area and helping existing businesses be successful. And the structure we put in place here has become really important. We have an existing business manager whose job is to reach out to all those industries on a regular basis, stay in touch with them, get them the help they need, find out what's going on in their world, make sure we have them taken care of. That's really the most important thing we do in this office, is take care of those existing businesses. We've been meeting with them quarterly. We have HR groups that meet, all those kind of things, and we really didn't understand how important maybe that was until what has happened recently. That 3% unemployment rate I mentioned, gone. We have approximately 2,200 workers that have been furloughed or laid off here in these last 2 or 3 weeks. Jasmine Grimm, that heads up that existing program for us, has been in constant contact with all 70 plus of them since then, talking to them, finding out what their needs are, letting them share with other companies their best practices, collecting information from them, getting their employees whatever kind of information that comes into our offices. The city also has been checking in with all of those companies, making sure, not necessarily making sure, but writing down and documenting what they're doing to keep their employees safe. As you might imagine, the city gets a lot of calls. I can't believe that company's open. What are they doing? those companies get to decide if they're essential, and all we're doing is going out and just documenting what it is they're doing to keep their employees safe. All been doing a very, very good job. Many of our companies have adapted and continue to work. Companies that can afford to take that long view have just kept it up and running and moving forward the best they can. Some of them have adapted. We've got 5 companies in the area that have pivoted and are making PPEs for our local hospital, for the EMS, and for the region itself. It's been hard to watch that happen. Some of them just immediately called our office, said, "We're doing this. Who needs this kind of equipment?" We also have some logistics companies and other companies that are reaching way down in their supply chain to see what they can do to help with PPE production. It's really been fun to watch. And I think Gallatin is really fortunate that we do have this diversified employment base. It's kept us stronger than many communities, and will help us rebound a lot quicker than most communities also. The city itself has done a great job at keeping all the essential services opening, really almost without skipping a beat. It's you probably as a citizen out there, as business owners, really shouldn't have noticed much difference in the way the city is operated. I've been really proud of the way they've come together. And one of the things I'm excited about is that they moved their meetings online to virtual, and that has allowed this development process going. Time is money when you're putting a project or a company up and running. And so the fact that the city's been able to keep those meetings going has been really important. And it's been fun to watch that progression to platforms just like we're having this meeting now. One reason that we feel very confident that we're going to have a fairly quick rebound compared to most communities out there is the fact that we continue to have companies that are making plans to move to Gallatin. Right now, we have 4 projects that we feel very confident will be opening in the next 2 quarters, or at least announcing in the next 2 quarters, bringing hundreds of jobs to the area. And these new injections of cash and jobs are one of the things that will help put Gallatin back on its feet sooner than most communities. And I guess coming out of this, I guess our biggest concern here, besides the macroeconomics of it that we can't control, remember, we only focus on the things we can, and that is just making sure that we retain this workforce. We work very, very hard. We've added 5,000 plus jobs over the last 6 or 7 years here, primary jobs in the manufacturing and distribution and medical industries, and probably at least that many in the support areas also out there, and that retail and all the other things that go on. And so making sure that these people stay whole during this time and that we can attract them back, I think really is probably the most important thing that we're worried about long term. We feel confident that this city will rebound as long as we can keep those workers here. And that's kind of an overview. Kim, what are your thoughts?
Hey, I really like the term rebound. That's one we've started to use too. I think it sounds a lot better than recovery, because I really do think that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a great rebound. We'd had Barry Young with tourism on last week, and a lot of his discussion was the same, like just getting ready to get people back to business full force. You mentioned some of the folks that are manufacturing and doing PPE. We should all say that together 5 times. Do you have any examples of that you can share with us, some of those folks that are doing that and what they're doing? I know we've seen some good stories, but here locally, who's doing what?
So ABC Technologies out in the industrial sector has pivoted to manufacturing components for those respirators that are needed out there. Arcosa, they've got a 3D printer. They've been printing headbands for face masks that are out there. I know that Carrington Industries has also been making the face masks, I believe it is, isn't it? And then RC10 is also a plastics company out there. It's also pivoted and is making part of those face masks for folks also. And then we have, I think Gap has reached down its supply chain to try to bring in, try to get some of that stuff directed this direction also.
Awesome. We talked about some projects that are coming to light maybe when we get out of this. Is there anything you can share with us about any of those? And, for those that are watching, because we've got a lot of folks that are watching that may not understand how that process works and why some of those things can't be talked about, I think it's a good time to let the public know why we can't tell them all of the things that you may or may not know.
Yeah, we have most of the projects that we work come in under a code name, and it's done that way for three reasons. First, if the company's name was out there, particularly for large projects, there are 13,000 James Fentons in the United States, and every one of us would be knocking on that company's door saying, "Come to my community." It would just overwhelm the company. Second, it's for competitive reasons. A lot of time the companies don't want their competitors to know that they're making a move until they're ready to announce it. And then third, and probably the most important, is oftentimes when you get a company that moves, it might be closing another facility. And if rumors get out there, if that gets out there, incorrect information gets out there, you can just really ruin lives. Companies, people's lives, they panic within incomplete information, rumors get started, and also they could stop, they might start looking for a job before that company is ready to shut down a location. So those are three main reasons that a lot of these things come in under code names. We do have, we've got a company coming down from upstate New York. It's a fabric company. Which doesn't sound like much of a future in this world. Actually, they make industrial fabrics, and they make fabric for NASA and Boeing and places like that, out of Nomex, out of carbon fiber, those kind of things. So I'm really excited about that company coming down here. Good folks. I've met them several times. We've got a company coming up, hopefully coming up out of Nashville. They were ready to sign on the dotted line and move forward until this pandemic hit. I really feel comfortable they'll be here. We just kind of got to wait for them to test the market, make sure the demand for their product is still going to be there. And then we have a company coming out of California, and they do remediation. They've got some proprietary information and products that they use to clean up if there's a ground spill or something of chemicals. They're able to go in and clean that up. They also have, again, some proprietary fabrics that they make that will protect buildings and places when they rebuild on maybe a brownfield. So I'm excited for them to come into the area also. And then we also have another technology firm. As you know, we've got Archer Data Centers that's coming up out of the ground, trying to come up out of the ground out in our industrial center. This rain we've had has just put this thing behind schedule. It's about 45 days behind schedule already, but that will eventually be 280,000 square feet of data center. Long term, after the fourth phase, I think this first phase is 80-some thousand square feet. We're excited about that. Again, diversifying that employment base that we have here. Also, just got off the phone with them a little while ago. We'll be pulling more fiber through Gallatin to serve a data center. And so, yes, so that means that there'll be more high-speed connections that are out there. I think the ability to have more robust and a larger reach for that. And I think that's really important overall for our team. And we do have another technology firm that's looking at us also.
Awesome. I think we've all realized over the past 6 weeks the need for better internet. So I know we're already semi-fortunate here in Gallatin, but I know that there are better options out there. So that's always good to hear. Something I'm curious about, because we've heard from some folks that have shifted models during this time and said, hey, I think we'll stay this way, or hey, I think we'll keep some of our operations like this. Have you heard from anybody that you've talked with what that looks like and, how they're planning to kind of re-enter their new norm?
With manufacturing, it really is almost impossible to redo it. You can't work remotely, for manufacturing. So a lot of some of them have moved their front office folks out, and they may stay that way. I've had larger conversations, for instance, with Ralph Schultz, the head of the chamber in Nashville, and it's just talking about, will there be this demand for these big office buildings? Is that going to continue? And I think there will always be a demand. There are always going to be companies that want to put their name on the building and have the biggest building in town. But I think going forward, there may be a difference there. Brian Moyer with the Nashville Technology Council, he and I were talking yesterday also about the same kind of thing, and he's kind of seeing that as he gets out there, that maybe somebody's following, hey, this works all right. I think it's going to be a year, really, Kim, before those decisions are made. Somebody's going to have to look back and do a study on efficacy, on productivity in this time to see if we really did keep things going, or if it was just, if people were sitting around drinking coffee all day and not getting things done. I think it's going to take a study a year out really to find out what's going on there.
Kind of a fun question. Talking about routines and, everybody kind of navigating this new normal. What are you doing? I know that you're working from home mostly right now. What are you doing to kind of maintain a normalcy and routine? And what does your new normal look like?
Yeah, it's fun. I'm actually in Nashville, so I usually have a 45-minute commute, and that's gone. And I realized after a couple of days that I needed something, that sets that up for me, because that was really a good time for me just to get my head together. I would usually get in the office and I would have called my phone, left 2 or 3 messages on the way in as I was thinking of things that I needed to do. And so here now it's a take a walk, or I have a really nice art studio down in the basement, and I'll go down there and bang on something and kind of get my day started. But making sure I get up, take that shower, get dressed correctly, and then once I come in my office here, I stay here until lunch. And then I'll go out and I'll leave for 45 minutes, go do something, and make sure I come back and just stay in here. It's way too tempting because my wife's company has been, divided. She's working from home. Katie, my stepdaughter's trying to finish up law school. She's here. So if I walk outside this room, the dogs, all that kind of stuff, I mean, it would just, it would keep me from being productive. So I just kind of locked myself in here.
That's good. I think it's always interesting to hear. We had our leadership Gallatin class. We usually have a day trip, and yesterday was actually supposed to be business and industry. And of course, that was off the table pretty quickly when folks started kind of closing to visitors about a month ago. And so we met virtually, and we went around, and the group of 24, everybody took a minute or two to share what their new normal looked like. And it was interesting to hear everybody's new routines and kind of how they were navigating this. So thanks for sharing that. Well, it doesn't look like we've got any questions coming in. Is there anything else you've thought of that you'd like to add or you think would be helpful for folks to know?
Just make sure, I think folks start to reopen. Probably, in May, it sounds like, I think, since the governor extended that order. Be careful. We do. And as a community, we just need to keep monitoring things. We need to make sure that what we're doing really isn't setting off another wave of this. And that's beyond my control. I can take care of myself, but as a whole, I think we just need to remain vigilant because, again, we need everybody that's out there to be healthy. We need them to get those companies back up and running. We need our hotels to be back up and running. We need our restaurants to be back up and running. All that stuff out there has to be up. We just, I don't know how this social distancing will carry over into dining out or anything like that, because it's as far as we can tell, the experts, the pundits, are saying that we're going to have to keep that with us for quite some time, at least until a vaccine's created. And I have no idea. I got to put my hands in my pockets, not shake hands with people, and that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting time as we come out of this, Kim.
I know. We take a lot of hands too. We'll be doing elbow bumps.
Yeah. What are you hearing out there from your companies and your businesses?
I think all of them are just kind of waiting right now, and some of them are preparing to. I've heard from some restaurants that are using this time to make modifications to their dining rooms, and they're thinking outside the box. If they have to have a shift when they reopen in capacity, like what does that look like? Some of them have really learned how to do to-go sales. When we're talking about our restaurants really well, some of our businesses in the retail industry have done a great job shifting to online sales. And so they've seen a huge opportunity that they've probably been missing for quite some time now, saying, wow, I could actually do online sales too. And some of them just hadn't made that leap yet. So I think a lot of our businesses have really learned to innovate during this time, which is great to see. I love to see that. But, I think they're all just kind of sitting there waiting. And I know that a lot of our folks in professional services, they're hungry to meet face-to-face with a client again, because it's, you can do a lot of interactions via email. And I think we have learned that a lot of that is easier that way. But I think there's a lot of it that it's easier when you can look somebody in the eyes and have a full conversation with them and, not through a screen like this. So
I think, and it reminds me of when I was talking with Brian Moyer, Nashville and the surrounding area, it is about relationships. It's one of the things that made this Middle Tennessee area explode as well. It is because it's drive across town, half an hour for a cup of coffee, just to sit down and talk. He's seeing that maybe some of that might move to this kind of a platform, just because instead of an hour and a half out of my day, let's just take 20 minutes. Let's spend a half an hour. Let's spend 40 minutes instead of having to jam it in. This industry as a whole is going to go through some big changes. I think usually, as I talked about, companies coming in under a code, we wouldn't know who they are. They sneak into town, we show them around, they sneak out. One of the things that's happening already is that those tours are turning virtual. And instead of a company flying in and spending all that time and trying to see 2 or 3 different cities or sites like they would, and we'd always be talking, they're 15 minutes late, we got to hurry up, we can't spend as much time talking. Those tours are going virtual. And so now we're going to be able to sit down and really have time to tell our story, to craft our story, and make sure that we have time to tell that story and show them what we want them to see, and hide the things we don't want them to see because they're here. So I think overall it's going to be fun to watch that change.
I think it is. I think it's probably made us all take a step back and, really reevaluate what matters most in business and our personal lives, and really getting to figure out where we should and could invest more time and energy. So somebody commented and said, I can't wait to get my first Starbucks drink with a customer and just sit and talk. That's actually someone, she was on a show other day. She just started a business here in the Gallatin community, but I do miss that. I do miss some of those just coffee meetings, but it has been nice to do just some video meetings like this where, you don't have to get in the car and drive. Like you said, you get a little bit of that time back. So there's pros and cons.
Another thing that's happened is everyone has been forced to learn technology, to become more adept at it, from all of our boards and commissions across the board. Everyone has had to learn to figure out how to do this. Talking to Dr. Faulkner, he had some professors over there at the community college that just didn't want to embrace this. No, they have to. They've learned to. So I think that's one thing that comes out of this that is a positive for everyone, that everyone has become more adept at this kind of technology.
Oh, yeah. And I know it's been interesting to watch, too, because I've been watching the city council meetings and planning meetings and everything online. And it's been and even my board meetings. I've enjoyed watching some of those folks evolve over the past few weeks with their technology skills. The folks that were kind of like half heads on the screen, and now they've figured out, like, okay, I can do this. And even my own board members are like, y'all are getting it. We got it. We can do this.
Yeah. It's been fun to watch and to have some of them that 3 weeks ago didn't know how to turn their computer on are now telling other people how to do what they're saying.
It's real good. Well, awesome. Well, James, I appreciate you so much taking some time today to join us on the C Show and share a little bit about what's going on in your world and how Gallatin can get ready for that strong rebound in the days ahead.
It is going to be strong, folks. We really are in a good spot here.
Well, good.
Super.
Well, awesome. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to wrap up for today. If you have any comments, James's information, his email address is scrolling at the bottom. Feel free to connect with him. You can also drop a comment here in the comments, and we'll make sure it gets to him and gets answered. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. for our last C show of this week, and we'll be joined by Judge David Hauer, who's the juvenile judge here in Sumner County, and who will be talking about the crossroads of court and crisis. So we'll see you tomorrow at 11. Bye.